So, you know, an additional 4, it's going to hurt. And so that's just where I stand. If y'all got any other questions, fire away.
Mrs. Curry, as of right now, the town is paying 6%. Is that correct for the employees? We're paying 8%.
8% of gross wages for employees.
So if we chose the defined benefit plan, we wouldn't be paying any more.
Correct.
In our handout materials,
at this point.
I'm sorry, in our handout materials, it referenced a 2 point. In our materials, it references option 1 would, quote, increase the town's budget by 2.2% of payroll. Now, that would be additional dollars to what we're paying now, and what does that translate to into dollars versus percentage?
Ooh, I asked the best questions, Jeff. For the Social Security option, you would have 6.2% that would go to Social Security. There would be a matching 4% into the 401A. Employees would be doing the same thing. For dollars,
Alderman
David?
Elliott, I think looking at a 1% across the board increase, which is a little higher than what we actually have to put for retirement because we don't put anything in for part-time employees, you're looking at roughly, I think it was $25,000, just dollars. There would obviously be some benefits that would add on to that as well, but roughly $25,000. That's 1%. So you multiply that 2 times, you're looking at around $55,000 to $60,000 increase per year with that option. Do you want to speak?
May I ask a question?
Gary Schmitz, 12146 North Fox 10. The assumption is the 10.2% is that all employees would contribute 4% to it. We don't know that the employees would, like Darrell said, Bud said, some of the employees would have a tough time coming up with the additional money. So it'd be somewhere under that. Your 8% employment contributions, if I have the numbers right, are currently $176,000 a year under your salary for this year, for the current year that we're in. So without any raises or changes to next year, 2.2% of that would be $35,000, $36,000.
We would obviously, though, Alderman, have to budget the entire amount because we wouldn't want to feel short in case something happened. And if I may just jump in here, since everybody's had a good opportunity to speak tonight, the board has definitely got a tough decision ahead of you. You've got one plan that is unpopular amongst much of the nation right now, and you've got another plan that has pretty much got your costs fixed from this point forward, unless you decide to change those in the future. At issue is what the employees have said, is that the employees that have been here for some amount of time with the defined contribution option, the Social Security option, it's not really doing much for them except starting their clock on Social Security, getting them a little bit extra than what they would have had we not been into that program. It's also costing them, as what a practical matter is a 10.2% of pay out of their pocket. We went to employees, asked them if they could afford 6. They said they could. The deal with the defined contribution plan is that the way for it to work, and the only way for it to work, is for employees not only to do the Social Security, which they would be mandated to do, but also to put in the 4% to get that 4% match from the town. If they don't do that, then they're better off just, staying in the plan that they're in today. So that's a key point that we need to make sure that employees understand, is that they would really, really, really need to try to do their best to contribute that 4% match in order to make that work. The defined benefit plan, and looking at it long term, it's certainly your cost is not fixed. It can go up and it can go down. I think that Mr. Cross has devised a plan that is a relatively conservative plan. You've heard all the issues, the ups and downs, and the goods and the bads about it. so I won't go in and labor on it more. But I think if you do decide to do the defined contribution plan, then I think that we still need to try to look at some other option in the future for the employees that have been here for some time. I think that's something that I think Mr. McKelvey made a good point. A third of our workforce is in physically demanding jobs, and as they get older, it's going to be more difficult for them to be as efficient and effective as they are today. We have 18 employees that have been here at least 10 years. That's about 45% of our workforce. Don't know if they'll decide to leave and go somewhere else anytime soon. We hope they stay, but certainly that trend continues in government agencies. As you get in, they tend to stay, especially if they've been here 10 years. They tend to make it a career. And the other thing is that many of our jobs, we're not competing against the private sector. We're competing against the public sector for those type of positions. If I'm looking for a town engineer, a community development director, a planner, a finance accountant, all those positions, although they could go find jobs in the private sector, many times we'll get people from the public sector that are looking at other opportunities. So I just say all that. I know you've got a very tough decision ahead of you. I think either plan is going to be better than what we have today, and I think the employees certainly feel that way as well. And I think that whatever we decide, certainly we'll budget for, we'll make it happen, and we can go from there. So with that, I'm sure there'll be more questions.
Board, as this is being considered and debated tonight, is this something that all of you will make a decision based upon the plans that are before you right now, or is there a possibility that this would also potentially go as a referendum before the citizens to vote on this? I'm just seeking clarification as to what the options are in terms of making a decision about this either tonight or through a referendum type of process.
You know, we had to have an act of the state legislature in order to have a referendum on term limits. It took a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be necessary or not, but
the only reason I asked that question is because of the significant debate and concern about things down the road, i.e. being an unfunded liability, and which ultimately, if it did occur, then the taxpayers would be bearing that. And in light of that, is that something that they should be considered as far as the decision-making process about what's being talked about tonight?
I guess I don't know the answer at this point. Anybody else have any opinions on that?
Any other options out there, are there, other than those two?
Well, I think there's probably a ton of options. This is just the best we've been able to come up with so far. And I think, commenting. Yeah. Yeah, they floated a bond, and
The county doesn't have the same form of government as we do. They have home rule. Huh? The county operates under what they call home rule. They don't have the legislature to go through for everything they do.
My point was just a question of clarification, because I was just unsure as to what the processes that might be that we would go ahead and explore in terms of making that decision, whether this decision was going to be made tonight or whether there was an optional consideration, and should there be one moving forward. So that's the only reason why I was raising that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
well, I understand it's on the agenda for a vote tonight, but personally, I don't feel that I would want to vote on it tonight. I think that there's some options we haven't explored yet. I think there's some ways we could tweak either one of these that may make either one more palatable, more effective, more efficient for our particular situation, which is admittedly a complicated situation. And I'd like to work on it some more. I'd rather not try to pin this down tonight to what we're going to do going forward and obligate the town for and its employees for the foreseeable future.
Alderman Markley, I don't want to disagree with you, but I've got to say this. This process has literally been going on for at least 3 years. We've been talking about it, and the time crunch is, I mean, it's been put off, and right now we're under a budget thing. If we don't get something in the budget in this budget year, it's going to be another year and another thing of uncertainty, and so, I mean, we have beat it to death. We've taken all kinds of proposals to the staff. We've wore it out. I would love, and I know the employees, and hopefully I'm speaking for all of them, would love to see a vote on this one way or the other and put it to bed tonight, if you would, grant that for us.
Well, that's exactly what my question was going to be. How much carved in stone is anything we do tonight? How long? What are the ramifications of
Well, you can
reconsidering?
Mayor, you can change anything you want to change at any time. You can always terminate a plan and change it to another plan. The issue is when you do that, then you have to give employees a choice on whether or not they want to get into that new plan or not. In essence here, because we would be getting into Social Security, they don't really have a choice. Social Security mandates that they are in Social Security. So it's a mandated decision if the board decides to go with Social Security. I think the question is, what do you do with the matching? What do you do with whatever the other elements are? Our consultant, Mr. Cross, has ran numbers with his actuarial analysis to show what a 4% contribution from the employee plus a 4% from the town would equate to. Trying to get those numbers to equal some kind of beneficial retirement for employees. So if you wanted to tweak any element of that, you can tweak those at any time. So that's not the issue. I think if you wanted to go ahead and start the program as a defined contribution program with Social Security, you could start that. And then if you wanted to do something and supplement it later on in the future, you could do that as well. The issue is our budget is coming up very quickly, and we need to try to see if the board can give us some direction so that way we can put the numbers in the budget to make sure we have enough in next year's budget for retirement, health benefits, everything else that we have to do.